Great, let us get started. Well, first of all, welcome everyone. And I think Cindy is going to lead us in the pledge. Thank you. Cindy will lead us in the pledge.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Zara, the inspiration.
Oh, yes, it is. Bad news. Time flies. Good news, you are the pilot.
Thank you, Zara. And if I didn't say it, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. And I believe we only have one guest, my wife, Allison, who is sitting over there to the left. And then I didn't see any fellow Rotarians visiting. How about announcements? Do we have any announcements? Okay, come on up. You know the drill. Come on up.
Not you. Let me find it. Again, the fork program, the food for kids program that we combine our efforts with the other Rotary clubs are ongoing at grocery outlets. So if you're interested, please sign up and ask people to buy a bag of groceries there. There'll be another email sent out again in the near future. I learned how to schedule emails into the future, which is a really nice thing. So you're going to get a bunch of them. I don't know what our committee is called. Lutz and I and Zara's on it when we look for projects and we schedule projects for everybody involved with. What's that? Social something, that's whatever that committee's called. We're looking for projects. So if any of you have ideas for things to do, you're probably all connected in various ways in different groups. Cindy, WCST, and the clothing fair, those kinds of things. Let us know so we can make sure we get them on a calendar, get them out to everybody so people can put them in their calendars. Okay. The mural that our club is going to be involved in, it looks like we got approval from the glass forge with the general concept. So we're moving forward with coloring and the various details of the drawing. It looks like we are set for the month of October, painting that mural and doing all that stuff. So please block out that month of October, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. The mural, it's a big space. We need a lot of painting going on. So be there. Month of October. The Mid-Road Foundation purchased a house up on Hillcrest. We sent out some emails about furniture.
Right.
Deb Amin donated a whole bunch of stuff. It's been lovely, Deb. We still need more stuff. If somebody has a decent refrigerator, we need a second refrigerator. Okay, so look at that spreadsheet. There's still a lot of stuff. It seems like we're going to need a lot of kitchenwares still. And along that line, I'm afraid I'm going to get myself in trouble here, but there doesn't seem to be very many coffee mugs. So if anybody has any spare coffee mugs? It's like holy crap, what kind of, I'm going to get dumped coffee mugs on me here. But yeah, next week I'll bring a box or something if you all have a spare coffee mug or two. So holy moly, coffee mug. And then we got a recent email from the high school about mock interviews for July 27th. That is their summer program. That's a really interesting one to do if you can do a mock interview. For those who don't know about it, mock interviews, you go there and you kind of help coach a kid through what it means to interview for a job. A lot of you have done already. But the summer program is for kids that are excelling, that want to get ahead and get out of school early. They take extra classes during the summer, or sort of the opposite, the kids that are falling behind will do the makeup. So it's a really an interesting dynamic of who you see there when you're doing the interviews. It's really worth going there. That's it. Thanks, Tim. I thought, Elle, did you want to come up? I thought you, no? Okay, any more announcements? Deb.
So just following up on mock interviews, how often
And I'll make a plug for mock interviews also. I did it once. It's a lot of fun. It really is interesting. You meet some nice kids. And the teachers as well. Okay, so if that's it, I think you're about to endure my vocational. So why don't we get started? Well, let's begin with it'll come up, but we'll begin with the date. So I was born on February 23rd of 1951, and you can do the math. Let's see. Okay. There we go. You got it? Okay. You know, going through scrapbooks and things to put this together, I found this old quotation, and I found this when I was 18 or 19, and I typed it and put it away, and I came across it getting ready for this, and I just think it's a beautiful quotation. I had an inheritance from my father. It was the moon and the sun, and I can move all over the world now, and the spending of it is never done. And for some reason, this has always been part of me, who I am through life, so I've always appreciated this. It began, of course, with my parents. My mom on the left is from northern Kentucky, Blanchie, everybody called her, and as we kids got older, we called her Blanchie as well. And my dad, his name was Edward James Huber. They named me James Edward Huber after him. They didn't like the name Edward as a first name, so I am named after my dad, but I'm not a junior. And his name was he was Hubie, so that's Blanchie and Hubie. And that's a picture of Dad during World War II. He was in the South Pacific, Guam or New Guinea, Philippines or somewhere. And then they were married on May 29th of 1948. So he's from Cincinnati, she's from Covington, Kentucky. And then they started a family, a good Catholic family, 3 kids right off the bat. The little girl in front of my dad, that's my sister Lois. She's the oldest. Then there's me and my brother Tommy. My mom is holding them, Tommy. And then they waited 7 years, and they had 3 more kids after that. So the middle picture, there's 5 of us now. And then the one on the right, the little girl in the pink is the youngest of us all, Bethany. She's the last. So the oldest and the youngest are women. Far right, I'm the guy with the bushy hair, second from the left and the second in the back row. If you notice, everybody had bushy hair back then. All right, next one. And then, you know, somehow we kept growing older. And the one on the left, I think I'm about 26 in that picture. The one in the middle, I don't remember even what the occasion necessarily was. But the one on the right, I think it was my dad's 80th birthday. So it's probably in my 50s by then. Next one. Kind of blew through, skipped grade school. So let's go back a little bit. We grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, Tri-Hill, Cincinnati. Went to a Catholic parish called Church of the Resurrection, and that's where I went to grade school. All 8 grades at Resurrection. Next one. And I found this. I think my mom sent me this before she passed away. But when we were little kids, that's my front yard on Talbot Street. We actually put on a polio carnival as we were little kids. Would you advance it one more? And I think the brainchild behind it, one more, there. That boy's named Gary Brown. He was my best friend growing up. And then one more, and I just want to show you where I am. I think Gary was the brainchild. It seemed like we both put it together. And because that was back in the 50s or very early 60s, and polio was huge back then. I remember we all got vaccinated. Anyway, we raised money. We had a nice carnival, and we were entitled to go on the Uncle Al show, which was a Saturday show for kids. I think it was Uncle Al and Aunt Wendy was her name. But we actually raised money. We raised, you know, relatively speaking, quite a bit. So then growing up, yeah, it's good. Growing up, played a lot of sports. It was a small team most of the time, so we were losers more than winners, as you can see. And in that right picture, I'm the second from the left. That's me. And the person on the far right is my father. he coached a lot of baseball teams and basketball teams as I grew up, coached me quite a bit. And then we were, there I am on the right-hand side, we started a newspaper in grade school. It's called Notes and Quotes, and I don't know. A funny thing, that girl I'm standing next to, I remember her name is Paula Gray. I lost contact with her after grade school. I had a dream about her last night. And I asked, and Allison, who knows how to interpret dreams, said, it's some, this thing you put together, that's where it came from. But anyway, it was just funny, old Paula. And then I went to high school. It was an all-boys Catholic high school called Elder. We were about 1,800 boys. Right next to us was Seton High School, which was all girls Catholic school. So the boys and the girls were separated by a fence. And I ran a lot. The fellow on the left side is a guy named Bill Galvin, good friend of mine. You meet people in life who are influential, and he had a big influence on me. And then the fellow on that second picture, the coach is named Bob Ronker. People often ask, who was your favorite coach, your favorite teacher? It would have to be him. Wonderful man. In fact, tonight, Alice and I are going up to Eugene for the outdoor track and field championships, and I'm going to meet Bob again. We've been in contact over the years, and he was great. He doesn't run anymore, but he was a good runner too, very good runner. And then I think we were yearbook staff working with that was Father Gruber, who was our principal. But we're just, I don't know, we're talking to him. Okay, next one. And then in terms of education, I finished my degree at the University of Colorado in Denver. I got a bachelor's degree in education, and then later on, I taught for a few years, and I went to University of Texas in Austin, got a master's degree in community regional planning. I started at the University of Dayton, and after 2 years, I was kind of lost. I really didn't know what I was up to, what I was studying. I was racking up a lot of debt. I had gotten a high number in the lottery, so there was no chance I was going to be drafted. So anyway, I dropped out and I moved to Colorado. That's another era. There just wasn't enough time to talk about the Colorado days. Anyway, while I was there, I went back to school and got my degree in education. And one of my goals in going back to teach was I wanted to live overseas. I mean, I'm from Ohio. Ohio's kind of a boring place, and I needed adventure. So my goal was to end up in Australia. But as it turned out, I ended up in South America instead. So I taught at these colegio is basically K through 8. So I taught in Barranquilla, Colombia, Colegio Carlson Parish for 2 years, and then I spent 2 years in Cali, Colombia, Colegio Bolivar. These are U.S. sponsored overseas schools. They're all over the world. U.S. sponsored overseas schools, and in these schools, half the teachers were American hired, and the other half are Colombian-based hires. These kids actually get a very good education because they get the U.S. high school degree and they get the Colombian bachillerato degree. Like I said, we're the American hired teachers. We did not speak in Spanish to the kids. We taught a full U.S. curriculum, and the Colombian teachers taught social studies and language arts in Spanish. Those are some of the kids my fifth graders in Barranquilla. So yes, they celebrate Halloween, at least in Colombia, not the rest of South America. And then there's another one, last day of school in Cali, Colombia. That's me on the right. Notice I'm beating my fifth graders, even in sack races. Okay, next one. And then a lot of, we're teachers. So we had Christmas off, we had spring break, we had summers off, and the guy on the right, on my left, the right. Raymond and I lived together most of my time in Colombia. We traveled everywhere while we were there, took advantage of traveling wherever we could, and got very good at spear fishing in the Caribbean. That's me on the left. And for those of you who don't believe in killing things, we would only spear what we could eat. And if we didn't catch anything, then we didn't eat much that night. But we camped along these beaches on the Caribbean and caught our own food. The guy in the middle in that second picture is the same guy who's next to me in the running. He went to Dartmouth, one of the smartest people I ever knew, went to Dartmouth and came home and became a street performer. And he spent his life, he traveled around the world, he worked on ocean cruises, he worked in circuses in Europe. And whenever a bill came to town, the juggling balls and the fire clubs came out, and we were street performers. So we went from Barranquilla, Colombia, the north in Colombia, all the way down to Lake Titicaca, in Bolivia, street performing our way and earning these little chupasoles, these little bits of money that were worth virtually nothing.
What was your part in the performance?
I could juggle. We juggled balls. We juggled fire clubs. Every now and then, I'd walk on stilts. Bill was real strong. I could jump on his shoulders, and we juggled both of us together. So, and we met this guy from Canada who played the banjo. And hey, people in the Caribbean, I mean the Andes, Indians, had not heard of banjo before, so we were hot stuff. And then did Machu Picchu. That was one of our first passes, about 15,000 feet. It was a tough, grueling hike, about 5 days, but we made it. Great trip. And then after that, or during those years, I was trying to decide what to do with my life, and I was kind of at a crossroads. Do I want to be a teacher all my life? Do I want to get into administration? Do I want to stay overseas? These schools are all over the country or the world. And the plum jobs were actually in Europe. They're kind of hard to get. You need a better degree, kind of pay your dues like in South America and the Middle East, and then maybe you end up in Europe. At any rate, I had always been interested in cities. I always liked cities. I had an undergrad, or my minor in college was political science. I kind of understood governance, and I was also interested in health. So I came up with this notion of, people to be healthy, people need healthy cities, and I like cities. So I decided I'm going to change careers. I'm going to go back and get a master's in planning. So that's what I did. And it led to my first job. I was an intern with the city of Austin, Texas. And after the internship was over and I finished school, I got a job there. So I worked there for 6 years. So go ahead. And I lived the good life in Austin, Texas, which is a great town. And that's where I met Allison. That's Allison on the far left, swinging over. She's going to get up here in a minute if I let her. But anyway, I think it's swinging over Barton Creek. We used to hike. It's called Fredericksburg. Texas is actually pretty more interesting than most people give it credit for. That's called Enchanted Dome or Enchanted Rock, in the middle. And then actually there's good sailing outside of Texas at at Austin, Lake Travis. So we go sailing a lot. Okay, next one. And then when I was in school, when I went back to school, we had studied Senate Bill 100, which was the land use bill passed in Oregon that established the land use system here. And so it was in 1973 or so when that bill was passed. And at the time, Oregon was the premier place we had the best land use model in the country. I know a lot of people don't like it, but they think it's too strict, but it was the best one in the country. Maybe Hawaii was doing some innovative things as well. So I just thought, if I'm ever going to learn to do city planning right, I need to move to Oregon. Plus, the call of the wild. Oregon's absolutely beautiful. I love it here. So it's time to move. So I got a new job in Grants Pass. I was hired as the senior planner. They called me a Texan, but I'm from Ohio. The next one. And that's where I met a bunch of really good people like Laurel Sampson. I think Laurel actually hired me. Dave Wright was our city engineer. And early on, Margaret was one of our counselors. I don't know that I worked that closely with you, but she was a great counselor. I remember that. And Dave, I just wanted to show you this. Dave is a veteran, and he actually wrote a book, and I brought along a copy of it. It's called Not Enough Tears. It's a very moving story of his time in Vietnam and his life. And anyway, he's a wonderful guy, and he does a lot of veteran work now, volunteer work for veterans. So I met great people like that. And we worked on all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. We were growing rapidly. I mean, there were annexation issues and water-related transportation issues. Just one thing, trying to figure out what to do with the river. There's always this talk of linking downtowns to the river. So there was just all kinds of stuff. And growth there's a time where we were growing so rapidly. And most of it was happening in the Redwood area, which did not have water. So we had a lot of tough issues we were working on. But I have to say, yeah, I'll leave it up there. But I was a planner for 33 years, and I have to say I was never bored. I swear. I mean, it was hard, and there were times it was horrible, but I can honestly say I was never bored. There was always something happening. So we were married, and the two of us, and then we had our one and only child, Olivia Kelly, on the right.
Question out here.
Yes.
That makes me think that we were married after planning.
No, we got married in Texas before moving to Austin. And then a few years passed. Thank you, Allison. For the clarification. And we took her everywhere. She went everywhere with us. I think that's on the, I'm not sure where that trail is. Maybe, I think it's Rogue River, but Allison thinks it was in California somewhere. And then she's a couple of years older, or several years older, I guess. That's up on one of the Table Rocks. So we used to hike a lot. And actually, we still, even then we did. I took her up to Mount Thielsen. That's the one up by Diamond Lake and Crater Lake. It's a beautiful mountain. The most lightning strikes and hit that peak than in all of Oregon. So she was in middle school. That's Scott Swindell's on the right. That's Laurel's husband. He and I did a lot of climbing together over the years. And then on the right-hand side is Mount McLaughlin. We've been up there a couple of times, but she was a senior. She's ready to graduate. And I know we took a trip up there. Still snow. In the meantime, I kept up my running, and I had friends like, where's Dawn? There's Dawn. That lady on the far left, if you can see, is over. That's Dawn Welch. And the person next to her is Carl Sniffman. Some of you may have known Barb Sniffman, a doctor, a pediatrician in town for many years. That's me next to Carl. And then I got into running marathons, which I would not recommend. They're very hard, but I survived. I think that was my first one in Portland. And then after 20 years, I mean, to be honest, I was here during the recall, and it was difficult. It was not a good place to work, and essentially everything ground to a standstill. And I thought, I need to get out of here. I'm not doing anything. I feel like I'm wasting my time and people's money. And I didn't want to move out of town. Our daughter was just going into high school at the time. And fortunately, this position, planning director position in Medford opened up. So I applied for it and I got it. And what was going on then at the time, they were doing this thing called this 50-year plan for the entire valley, not us, Jackson County, but regional problem solving. That was a big issue that had gone on for years. And of course, an urban growth boundary would bring in more property into UGB. And of course, then growth and development, a lot of Starbucks coming to town, things like that. So I worked there for 7 years, and then I retired. And I've been retired about 6 years now. Or 7, whatever. So we do like to travel. That's one of the things we like to do. Olivia spent her first year, she went to Suffolk University in Boston, and they have an overseas program. So she spent her first year in Spain. And of course, after she was done with school, we hightailed over there to hang out in Spain for a while. That island, the middle one, Isla de la Plata in Ecuador, we saw more blue-footed boobies there than we've ever seen in the Galapagos. So it's just a nice, beautiful little island. And then we went to the Amazon a couple of years after that. And we like to explore and do things like ski and play music. That's Allison and me at Capitol Reef National Park, which is in Utah, beautiful national park. That's this winter, just I think January or so. We had a good snow year. We were up at Lake of the Woods. You can barely see it. I cut it off, but that's Mount McLaughlin in the background. And then these are some friends I hang out with and play music with. The next one. And we like to travel with our family. My brothers and sisters and nephews and nieces, we get along famously. So we took a big trip on the left. We went to the Galapagos. That's at the Charles Darwin Center. And I think it was 10 of us plus one boyfriend, but we had 9 family members. The one on the right, I couldn't find the group shot, but that's when we went to the Amazon. We were in Ecuador, so we're kind of in the upper reaches, the upper basin, but we're in the Amazon. And then there's 2 bottom pictures are us in Vietnam with Scott and Laurel. In the lower right, I have to say, the Vietnamese know how to decorate their streets. Their streets are beautiful. And we are a proud country, but man, we could take some lessons for those guys, you walk down the street and it's like every day it's beautiful. And then the one on the left, that's Scott Swindell's, Laurel's husband. We did this crazy trip. We backpacked for about 5 days. But one of the things you did, you would enter caves, and then you would swim upriver in these caves to a beach and you hike some more. They have some extensive cave systems in Vietnam with rivers. And we swam. That's how we were dressed. And we had a hard hat and a light because it was black. I've never seen anything that black in my, I mean, imagine just the absence of light. But it was very adventurous. It was almost too much for me, but we made it. We all made it. It is quite the trip. And our daughter lives in, she actually lives in Somerville, which is next to Cambridge, which is right next to Boston. Rents are a little cheaper, not much. But anyway, so we go up to Boston quite a bit. Riding subways during or COVID area, you have to wear a mask, period. No one bats an eye about it. That's at some mountain. I think we were in New Hampshire hiking. And then Olivia and I ran a half marathon last June up in Bar Harbor, Maine. It went pretty much through Acadia National Park. It was absolutely beautiful. And anyway, we're pretty proud of ourselves. And over the years, I've done some volunteer work here. I don't know if I first got here, but I was on the board of Family Friends, which is now Family Solutions, for about 7 or 8 years. And that's when I met people like Midge Renton. And I think I probably knew Barb by then, but we had a really strong board and an excellent director. So I was really enjoyed that one. Brand new field for me, the kind of work they were doing. After a couple terms on that board, I was on the board of options for Southern Oregon for, a couple of terms. One thing that I did related to my job that lasted for years, I was on the board of this thing called the Oregon City Planning Directors Association. And I really liked that because I got to travel around Oregon quite a bit and I met a lot of other planners from other states and just learned a lot what the issues are. And I don't know, Oregon's a beautiful state. It really is. And I met a lot of nice people trying to do good stuff. So that was a good experience. I've been with the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy for about 10 years now. I'm on the board. I'm also on the lands committee. And then I'm what they call a volunteer site steward. I go out to a property once a month and it's not glorious. We pull Scotch broom and Himalayan blackberries and star thistle and remove barbed wire and hang birdhouses and do all that kind of good stuff. It's quite nice actually. And it's beautiful property and the people who do it are great people. I was at we go to St. Luke's Episcopal Church and I was on the vestry and senior warden. The vestry is kind of like the board and the senior warden is like president of the board. And somebody said, well, what's it like being on the vestry of a church? And I said, it's just like being on a board, except you also have God to deal with, which makes it a little more complex. And the other thing, I want to disavow you of the notion that there is a relationship between being a senior warden and being holy, because at least in my case, there is not. And then I worked on Habitat for Humanity, built a couple houses with them, and I joined this club in 2017. And these are just a few shots. That's some work with Habitat for Humanity. Our daughter was home, I guess, for one of the summers when we worked on a house. So, and she had done volunteer work when she was in Boston, so she joined us. She was happy to chip in. There's the Land Conservancy. I'm the guy ready to fall in the river, trying to pull star thistle off the bank. And then the guy in the green shirt is none other than Doug Walker. Oh yeah, it's Doug. I had to show this picture because this is Foundry Village. We're trying to pour this wall, and these farms were really, seem to me, close together. And there are all these volunteers from Equus, I think what's the name of them? And I don't mean unkind, but they were kind of useless. They did not know what they were doing. There's like 10 guys standing around with shovels and concrete's going everywhere. And I thought, all hell is ready to break loose. But Doug said today he jumped up and he stood in that chute. That's the chute from the concrete, from the cement truck. And he started shoveling it. And that other guy over there, the guy with the headband, is Paul. a good friend of ours, and anyway, he saved the day. So that was it. So no, don't advance yet. Oh, that's right. I'll leave it there, leave it there. So I want to just talk to you for a few minutes, no more pictures for just a moment. I just want to tell you about service. Where did I learn about service? So I think I first learned about it without knowing what it was from my parents, because where we went to school, there's always something going on. There were coin drives and paper drives and can collections and bake sales and festivals. It seems like my mother was always making or baking something, and my dad was always fixing something. So there was always this activity going on. And one year, I showed you the baseball, the pictures. One year, baseball season's coming on, and we didn't have uniforms. There were no uniforms. And my little brother, Tommy, and I were just crestfallen. What? We're gonna, get base uniforms this year? So one night, my dad said, I'm going to a meeting. I'm going to the church or the school, and we're gonna have a meeting to talk about the uniforms. And I remember it was a school night, and we convinced my mom to let us stay up late till my dad got home. And finally, Dad came home, and he said, Dad, do you have uniforms? And I guess we expected he's going to walk through the door with uniforms that actually fit us. But he said, no. He said, no, we don't. But we agreed to form an athletic association. And went, what is that? Yeah. But the point of all this is, we got uniforms that year and every year since then. And I think it took me a while to learn, but I think the lesson was, when people, kindred spirits like mine, get together and face a problem and decide to solve something and create a system that goes on beyond 1 year. And that's what they did. They created an athletic association. Every kid afterwards, from years on, had uniforms. And I was always proud of my dad for doing that. And like I said, it was a lesson I learned about service. I want to talk a little bit about Rotary also. So my impressions of Rotary, I thought it was a business club. I thought it was like an adjunct to the Chamber of Commerce. That's what I always thought it was. I didn't know much about it. I had seen the wheel for the Rotary, but I didn't know much about it. One day I was at Steve Welch's office, and on his desk, he had a little placard, and it had the 4-way test. And I read it, and to tell you the truth, I was taken aback, because I thought, I would not have articulated it that way, but those are values that I felt I had grown up with. So I said, hey, I can relate to this stuff. These are wonderful goals and values. So that was, it was like a real eye awakener. I was still working, and I really didn't want to mix the two, work with Rotary Club. I just wanted to keep the two separate. I was in the part of what we did was regulate development, and I just, I didn't want to mix the two. At least in Medford, a lot of the developers were in the Rotary Club, and I thought we should keep these separate. So about a year after I retired, I was approached separately by 2 irresistible women. One of them was Margaret, and the other was Laurel. Laurel's strategy was give him about a year after retirement, and then we'll hit him up, ask him to join, invite him. So what do you do when you meet irresistible women? You can't resist. So I said, sure, I will join. So I joined Rotary, and I think it was 2017. I think that's when I got in. So thank you for inviting me in. Thanks for having me. And then, I was thinking you probably want to know, well, what do you hope to achieve while you're in Rotary? So first of all, I told you the 4-way test changed my attitude. And then I also started thinking, and I guess this goes back to my city planning background, I started thinking of Rotary in terms of human infrastructure. Because what does human infrastructure, or what does infrastructure do? It really delivers services like water or a transportation system or conveys stormwater away. And I thought Rotary really is this huge, immense international organization that is like a human infrastructure to deliver services with the goal of making life better, solving problems throughout communities throughout the entire world. So we are like this human infrastructure. So I thought, and how do I fit in? And I kind of think, I felt like a grain of sand on a beach, because it's a big beach. It's an international organization, and I'm really just like a grain of sand. I'll be president for a year and I'll do things, but really, in some ways, very insignificant compared to the whole. So I thought, well, how do you take advantage of that or tap into that? there's a book several years ago called, I think it's called Lean In. So that was kind of my theme, lean in. Just lean in to what's already there because it's already there. It's already present. So what do I want to do? I thought, first of all, I mean, a couple things, these may sound like low-lying fruit, but they're important. One is the smooth transition of power. So the Gina Marie handing the gavel, going from Gina Marie to me, that's very important. I call the next one sustainability or leadership enhancement, which is during this year, I hand the gavel over to Judy. And then Judy will hand it over to Valerie. So that's the sustainability, to keep it going. We transition from one to another smoothly, and then there's people in the queue ready to take over. So I think those things are really important. Like I say, they may feel like low-lying fruit, and they may not be very exciting, but they are important. And then the other one is last week, Gina Marie went through all of our goals and how we think we're going to get this Rotary citation for having achieved 13 out of 14 or 14 out of 14. I would like to do the same thing. We will share the goals at some point, but they're goals, they're things we do, service project, getting people involved, all these different things, supporting the foundation, Rotary International Foundation, all kinds of stuff. So just meeting those goals, I think, would be a big achievement. I really do. So I'd like to do that. We have this new focus, which is an environmental focus. So in terms of something new, I would like to add some kind of an environmental project. And what I was thinking, I work with the Land Conservancy, maybe it'll just be a couple of days of pulling weeds and stuff, but I would really like to add something to start contributing to that, meeting that goal or that new focus area of environmental. And then finally, one more, and I don't want to make anyone nervous, but I want to bring up the pledge discussion. And mainly though, I tried to listen very carefully and read what people had said. And one of the things I learned was there was this inextricable link between saying the pledge and honoring veterans. So this, it's very important that we honor veterans. And, I showed you one of the best veterans I ever met. My dad is a veteran. He actually had a Purple Heart for getting wounded. So I thought that's important. It's very important to our club. And then I thought, well, what do we actually do about it? Do we have any projects? So I would like to challenge myself, all of us, let's do something for veterans. Let's come up with a new project for veterans. And maybe it can be something like continuing work on homelessness, because from what I understand, and don't quote me, but in any given community, the population of homeless people can be anywhere from 10 to 20%. So by helping homelessness in general, we're working towards helping veterans. Anyway, that's something I would like to do, is come up with some kind of project for veterans. I think that'd be very important. Okay, next one. Now I'd like to tell you about the, there we go, the metaphor. I call this the metaphor of the tree stump. And it talks about hope, which is the theme, of R. Gordon R. McAnally, create hope in the world. That, he's the president of the international organization. So this concept of hope, why do we do what we do? I think we do it out of hope. Hope that we are making a difference in people's lives or in communities throughout the, Grants Pass, Oregon, our country, the world, etc. And what that tree stump, anybody know what that tree stump is? Take a guess. Beaver, she got it. So at this property, I work at, it's called the Rogue River Preserve. It's in Sam's Valley. It's along the Rogue River, about 350 acres. So we were out there earlier this year, and the people, a couple of the employees who work for the Land Conservancy came upon this, and they were ecstatic because it's a tree stump, a tree that had been felled by beavers. Well, beavers are one of these indicator species that attest to like the health of an ecosystem or environmental area. In this case, it's a riparian area along the Rogue River. So the fact that the beavers are coming back means that we've been successful. At least we're successful for now, because what we're trying to do is just really what we're trying to do is restore this property to its natural state, which is why we work so hard on getting rid of things like invasive species, stuff like that, stuff that don't belong there. Anyway, so the hope was we make a difference by working so hard, and then beavers show up, and I feel like our hope has been realized. And that, back to this theme of leaning in, I want to lean in to the president's theme of create hope in the world, because I think that's what we do. And then last slide, and I just want to say, we don't do this stuff alone. We rely on each other. In this case, we stand on the shoulders of each other to do so. And that's how we work to create hope in the world. And with that, I'll take questions. You want to?
So Kelly just asked me to talk a little bit about the project we're moving forward with for veterans. That Tommy Drake's generous donation, if Tommy's here or not, I don't know, has made possible with the donation of land. The city just, Valerie, last night, they just approved the transition of the land into the city, which is one of the first steps of getting the land developed for the veterans housing. I think Kelly gave me this microphone, asked me this as a possibility of a project for veterans. And I think I would like to do something like that. I think that's a good idea. I'm not sure how we can incorporate our club's energies and resources into that project. It's sort of a very specifically designed and built project from architectural standards by the federal government VA, so that there's not a lot of opportunities, I think, to bring ourselves in to do things, except maybe with the community building, the office building. Perhaps we could work in that building, maybe decorate it, maybe put little gardens in or something like that. But when that happens 2 years from now, the 2-year process, I will promise I'll invite everybody to be involved. But thank you for bringing that up, Kelly.
I've got a vision of going to the Amazon. Where did you go? How did you get there?
We flew into Quito, Ecuador. And if you ever go, I'll tell you where to stay close to the airport. Beautiful place. You fly easterly to a place called Coca. Guess what that one's named after? That's its Spanish name. Anyway, you fly eastward, not real far, an hour or so, and then you hop on a boat and you go down what's called the Napo River. So we were not on the Amazon River, we were in a tributary called the Napo, but it's the Aranya Napo community. It's a kind of a resort owned by indigenous peoples. It's a beautiful spot, you know, the kindest people you ever meet in your life. So if you want to go, I can tell you all about it. Yeah. Well, actually, I'm wearing this medal. To answer your question, it's St. Jude. St. Jude is the patron saint of lost causes or hopeless causes. My singing is a hopeless cause. That's what I wear. You know, I call it Americana, you know, bluegrass, rock, folk, you know, a real mix of things. I like Bob Dylan a lot, Eric Clapton, you know, you name it. Bluegrass. Judy.
I don't really have a question. I just want to say how much I enjoyed that. I didn't know anything about you, and I am just overjoyed to learn all this. I mean, I could always tell you were a super nice guy, but what a story. We're going to have a big year, aren't we? So thank you, thank you.
Anybody else? You know, Karen.
Apparently, it doesn't matter if it's the truth. If it makes veterans feel good, they have feelings, it's not what it says. Okay,
That's the way it is in our club. That was the truth, by the way. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? And I just, oh, that. You know, it's been so long. I'd say un poquito nomás. I mean, it's been so long. I don't practice it. Yeah. Un poquito, yeah. Hey, just one more thing. Now I'm gonna hand over to Margaret, because you're doing happy bucks, right? Uh-oh, she has a look on her face.
Yeah.
Or Sergeant Arms, yes. But one more thing, I just want to say, thank you for listening. You've been a great audience. No one threw tomatoes at me, which is nice. So I did want to say, in going through all the photo albums and scrapbooks and things my mom and sisters had sent me, I was overcome by the amount of love that I felt, and it just struck me. I've been extremely lucky. I've had a really good life, good family, education, friends, you know, adventure. So I'm very thankful, and anyway, I'm thankful to be part of this club too.
Whoa, whoa, exciting, exciting. Look at him working away, cleaning up a mess already. Thank you. I'm just so glad you made that last comment, Jim, because my feeling was like from the very beginning of your life that you were held in so much love and community involvement. And that's just who you are. And we're so fortunate to have you right now. And I did have one question. I wasn't clear about the gavel thing. You said you got the gavel and then you named two other people who are going to get the gavel. I'm new to this, so.
Jeannie was just as of last week was president. I'm president, and then I'm followed by Judy Baxter, and she will be followed by Valerie.
So we already know?
Yes. So it's president-elect. Well, let's see, president, Uncle Dave. President-elect, the nominee, current and immediate past. So
Thank you.
there you go. All right, Margaret.
All right, we're gonna do happy bucks. We're getting close to time. And I'd like to start with 5 happy bucks because Greg and I just celebrated our 26th wedding anniversary. On the 4th of July, which some of you know we call Interdependence Day. So happy bucks. Anyone? I got a text from Lisa Kramer that Lutz has COVID in Portugal. Yeah. And so we just want to send good energy for his quick recovery and getting a flight back. And on the happier side, my in-laws moved into Countryside Village and their 3-bedroom house is now available for rent. So we all know how tight rentals are. Come check with me if you know anyone who's looking for a 3-bedroom for rent in the beautiful Portola neighborhood. Happy bucks.
I'll get $20 just for being thankful that I'm done with this.
I was going to say that Jim was a little nervous about taking over as president, and he said, "Oh, you'll do fine, but I wish you lots of luck because you're going to need it." He goes, "Thanks a lot." Other happy bucks.
Oh. I'll give $20 too, because when it's my turn to be president, I won't have the same kind of happy stories. But I'm really excited about Jim being involved, and so I just honor you.
I just moved closer. I just didn't want to cut in line or anything, but I just wanted to say this is more of an announcement. I have a friend that has a couple foreign exchange student friends that are going to need a placement. It's through ASSE and it's called the Flex program. So they get scholarships and they're from all over the place. if you're interested, just contact me. I'll give my happy bucks for foreign exchange students because I think it's a wonderful experience. And Jim, you're gonna do a great job. I just love the goals you have.
I'm gonna do 10 happy bucks, some for Jim's year. I'm excited to see him lead us forward. And then the other 10 happy bucks are, I mentioned last time that one of the things I'm looking forward to doing with the newly found free time that I have this summer is doing jewelry and metalsmithing work with my dad. And so yesterday was my first day. I went over to his studio and I told him he's done a lot of stone setting. So setting faceted stones to make like earrings and things like that. And I never learned that when we were going to classes together. So I had my first lesson yesterday and I set one earring. So I have one cubic zirconium earring, and next week I'll make the other one and I'll have a set of earrings.
Yeah, I would like to give 20 happy bucks, and I'm gonna go back to Jim and say what a wonderful presentation it was, and how ironic that when you put up the annexation agreements, that last night that's exactly what we were doing, is annexing in the property so that we can move forward with. And how long has that been? And that's what I brought up in the meeting, was this was like 2014 was when we started this process. If you haven't figured out by now that you're in the UGB and you're going to grow, shame on you. You could have moved out to the country in the last 9 years. So it's just ironic to see that, but yeah, things move slowly sometimes, but I have enjoyed, and I look forward to working with this next year.
Well, I have a happy 10 bucks because just when I think I can't love Rotary anymore, I love Rotary more. It is so awesome to think that Jim's taking the helm. I wanted to know I'm with them 110%. And I think this is going to be a wonderful year. I got the news about Luke and Lisa too. We have a camp coming up on the 4th, huh? Well, she's trying really hard, that's for sure, but you never know. I mean, I'm ready for anything. Yeah, well, they have to get doctor's letters and everything. Anyway, it is what it is. And I'm giving another 10 happy bucks because I had at least 10 things like that this morning come up that just sends me in a spin. And then I realized, you know, with all this stuff going on, I'm still more blessed than 90% of this world. So I give thanks and $10.
Okay, I give 30 happy bucks for every year that I've probably known Jim and Allison since when Olivia was a baby. So, and remember, train, because Olivia has you on a schedule for your next half marathon.
I know Kelly likes to do this because it's good exercise.
That doesn't count unless you're wearing it. I got happy bucks for Jim for the new year. I'm thrilled. And Gina Marie for your past years. Thank you very much, Gina Marie. Also, I want to say the CDBG, the city, some of the people at the city, staff at the city found out about this house that the Mid-Road Foundation has got, the 6-bedroom house for low-income seniors. And they approached us and said they have a pool of money that they could help. So I think Valerie, Ann Ingalls, it looks like we're going to be able to use a grant from the CDBG to renovate the kitchen, which is really great because this house has a really small, silly kitchen. And there's 6 people living there. So that kind of came through this morning. So that's really fantastic. I want to say thank you to them. And they reached out to us to say, hey, you know, found out about this. So that's really great. And as far as the house goes, if anybody's interested in doing a little work there, we have a long list of little tiny things that need to be done. Little demolition here, a little carpentry there, a little this here, a little there. We need a dump run, a bunch of different stuff. So if anybody's interested in putting some help, doing some help there, please let me know. We could use you. Yes, you could bring to here. You could send him, yes. Okay, yes. Your husband's great, but yes, you send him. And I got some happy bucks for Steve's adventure. Steve was here a bit ago. Oh, there he is. You're back. Yeah.
You had a happy adventure then, it sounds like. Good, good for you. The other thing, I also have a need, which is the Housing Advisory Committee, which is the committee at the city that deals with housing stuff. And Mid-Road Foundation are gonna combine and put on some presentations to realtors and builders and a variety of other developers, entities, that to tell them about the changes that have happened over the 4 or 5 years of the city and the building code, and what they can do and what some of the pools of money are there that they can access, and the tools they can use to develop housing, not just low income housing, but any housing. We kind of need somebody that maybe is interested in helping to put on those presentations. They don't have to know the data or the material, but they need to help organize those presentations and whatnot. And our first groups we're going to approach are going to be real estate offices and real estate agents to explain to them what the new codes are and how they affect real estate and development and everything. So if you know of anybody who's interested in maybe being a contract person to help put on these presentations, let me know, please, because we could use somebody in over the next 2 years or so putting these presentations on. Thanks.
Two happy bucks for the club putting up with me.
It is good to be back after the long trip to President Lincoln. That was a great trip, and then it just kind of ended with 4 days at the Denver airport. But one of the things that I guess I want to say, first of all, congratulations to Jim, Gina Marie, thank you for what you did. But also the Green Hope in the World. This is what, really appealed to me, I guess, with this mental health focus. And this afternoon, we're going to go visit the behavioral health unit at Rogue Regional. And it's really something to see the awareness of Rotary. And I think last year, when they had the first woman president of Rotary, that was a good step. And I'm just excited to see also the mental health focus in addition to environmentalism for Rotary.
No, any more happy bucks? Brenda? You just wanted to see me run around.
The other, Lisa, texted me just before I left the house and said, please put out a plea to the Rotary Club that we need full cooks, full time for this upcoming camp. So, that's just one of the things. Yeah, Doug. 14th, 15th, and 16th of July, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It starts with lunch and then dinner Friday night, breakfast, lunch, and dinner Saturday, and breakfast and lunch on Sunday. Bobby and her husband, Bobby Winters and Larry Winters, have been doing this for years, but their family's coming in, and Bobby's more than happy to help fill people in on the buying the food and the menus that we find are the best. So anyway, it takes a village to raise a granny, and I'm here.
Yes, oh, good, I can talk. So I have $5, but my $5 is for the party that we had last week at Patty and Jed's to honor Gina Marie. That was so much fun. And the food was just wonderful. And the time that we had together, soaking our feet in the pool and with a drink involved. And I just can't say enough about our group. And I'm expecting that Jim, when your term is over, we're going to do the same.
I have just one happy buck. Today is my inspiration day. So there was so much thankfulness here, gratitude. So I'm going to say another quote by Rumi. It said, gratitude is a wine for the soul. Go on, get drunk.
Okay, I'm going to cut it off, but I do have one more happy buck. I just wanted to say, this guy does some amazing work, and it all comes from the heart. The week before my mother went into hospice, I ran into Steve, and he was coming out of the suites where my mother was in memory care. And we talked, and I asked him what he was doing, and he said he was seeing somebody who lived there. And I said, have you ever been to memory care? And so, long story short, he ended up coming and letting my mother pet Hope for about half an hour. And my mother was not there. I mean, you know, she just wasn't there. But she sat there and stroked Hope on her lap for half an hour. And there was a smile on her face. And so this man gave me a gift and my mother a gift that I will always remember. And gosh, just haven't we got the best people in our club? Okay, I'm done.
I got some more quick.
There he is. Oh.
Oh. Okay. I've been gone the last couple of weeks in Washington helping my dad. And so my happy bucks are that my dad is doing better. He had some pretty serious complications from back surgery. So I was there for about a week and a half and long story short, he's doing much better. And I actually went to a Rotary meeting when I was up there in Aberdeen, which is kind of my home away from home, and I got us a banner. There's the Lady Washington, which is housed out of Aberdeen, Washington. And this is the log pavilion that they built on the river there. And that's where they have their meetings. And my nephew got married there a number of years ago. So it's just a beautiful club and a nice connection. So here you go, Jim. Running a little bit late. Thought for the day, you actually already heard this, but I just want to share it one more time. I had an inheritance from my father. It was the moon and the sun. I can roam all over the earth now, and the spending it is never done.
Yeah, you put the question.